First of all, let me tell you that my expectations are not really about the conference itself, but the outcome. The conference itself, I could say it was a success because we had more than 300 participants from 32 countries, and half of the participants were from the international audience, so came from all around the world. We had many religious leaders, both from the Western countries, but more importantly, from the persecuted Christian communities in the Middle East and in Africa. We had NGOs, we had politicians, and if we list the successes, we can say that a setback is that we didn't have too many government officers from other countries attending this meeting. The Hungarian government runs the so-called Hungary Helps initiative to aid the persecuted Christians, and first we focused on the Middle East, the area where the Islamic State has caused atrocities and mass murder and the exile of the local Christian and other religious minority communities. So that was our first focus. But then we expanded to North Africa, namely to Egypt, where the Coptic Christians suffer from terrorist attacks from fundamental Islamic organizations. And now we are expanding. As I announced on the closing day of the conference that we are starting another program in northeast Nigeria, where Boko Haram, the other organization that has pledged alliance to the Islamic State, has caused suffering and great damage to the Christian communities. It is called Budapest Declaration for a reason. We want to show the world and tell the world that Budapest is the place where you can talk freely and honestly about Christian persecution. It's not like this all around the world. Not in some Muslim countries, but painfully not in the Western world either. So that's where the title is coming from, and the declaration is more than a political document. It's a statement, it's a message to the persecuted Christian communities that there are people and there are organizations who hear their words, who are there to help and who stand with them. Yes. Its content is focusing on calling upon the international organizations and governments to act now and call the persecution of Christians in the Middle East and in Africa on the name what it is genocide. And this is how the international community should treat it, as a genocide. Yes, this department that I'm heading, the Deputy State Secretariat for the Aid of Persecuted Christians, is unique in the whole Western world. It was unique when it was formed, and there are not too many governments, if any, who followed suit or followed the example. And it could give us good PR, to say, if we posed as the lone defenders of Christianity, but we don't want that. We want other governments to copy that. So that's why we talk about our program. That's why we take the word of the persecuted Christians to the UN, to the European Union, and to other governments. The whole purpose is for other countries to follow the example and start similar programs focusing on the unheard children of the war and conflicts, the persecuted Christian communities. Absolutely, we do. For centuries or either millennia, one millennium, Hungary was always situated in the mixing zone or the front line of the Western and Eastern cultures and civilizations. Talking about here the Mongolian invasion, Hungary was the easternmost country where the invasion stopped. The same happened with the Ottoman and Muslim invasion of Europe, we were the bastion of Christianity in the east of Europe. So this is deeply in the Hungarian psyche. What I have said in my talk is that the participants of this conference came from two crisis zones. One consists of the Middle East and Africa, where persecuted Christians are fearing for their life. They encounter life-threatening forces, Islamic extremism, and they often have to choose between fleeing or dying on their homeland for a long time. So this is a humanitarian crisis zone, but there is another one, and that's in the West. In the West, where people, politicians, governments and other organizations are turning away their Christian cultural roots. They're turning away and they are turning against the Christian cultural identity. So we call this another crisis zone, an identity crisis region. I do see the connection. In the West, mostly the liberal narrative is that Christians cannot be persecuted because Christianity is an aggressive, discriminating religion. Therefore, they focus on other minority groups who also deserve the aid. They do, I don't debate that, but they suffer less and smaller threats than those Christian communities who are on the verge of annihilation in the Middle East and in Africa. So there is the connection, in my opinion. We do. We are only starting to do, and we were glad to host many participants and guests, and from now on friends and allies from the United States at this conference. So there is more to come. We need to step up this game. We need to form alliance and take the idea, take the example to the United States as well.